And let the two Uthras come with you. Go to the men of proven justice, which lack and lie is not. Bring them the speech of life, which is far and endless. Go to the men of proven justice, the true believing men. Let you hear the call of life, so that they wake the sleeping ones. Give them hidden speeches by which they are to be instructed. Teach them about the great life, as he says in his book. What life inspired the Nazorian people who are in the world, so shall they clothe themselves with garments of splendor, so that they will ascend on the paths after you. Grant them speech and hearing, that they may be delivered from the wrath of the wicked. Grant them of mercy, who gave up the great life to you in this Shkinta. Grant them the wisdom of Aether, so that they may rise up and approach the mighty with supplications. Teach them about the beings of light and the hidden Shkintas in which they sit. Teach them about the great life. Teach them about the manas who are there. Teach them about the Athakrans, who is attached to the great life in this Shkinta. Teach them about the great life and the Uthras who sit in mutual enlightenment. Teach them about the gentle Mana and the three Uthras who captured him. They look the Mana captive and brought him to the abode of sinners. The seven spoke of him. He should be counted among us. He should be counted among us and stay with us in the world. We want to keep him in the Tibble so that he does not look at his Creator. He does not look at the great vine, the men who are standing here. He does not look at the one whose glory and the things that his Shkinta equates to. He does not look at his parents and do not flaunt in his garb. He does not look at the great life, so that he does not look at the manas who are there. The gentle mana spoke and taught the whole tribe. I am a lonely vine who stands in the world. I do not have a high level of support. I do not have a breadwinner. I do not have a gentle helper. He will come and teach me about everything. Then the great life heard the mana, created it, and sent him a helper. It covered him with rich luster and with endless light. In my right I brought a wreath, in my left I brought a robe, in my heart I brought the sign, with the joy that the great gave me, with the joy that the great gave me. The mana departed from his body, the seven did not notice. After he was separated from his body to the house of the second, the splendor of the mana did not disappear from the house. Then it completely darkened. Then the seven realized it. Now they are all sitting there in mourning. Everyone is sitting there in mourning, and Ruha is sitting there in confusion. The sun left its shine, the moon left its brightness, Nibu left his book, Libat threw her biller away, Kewan threw away his lions and cut off his neck from his neck. Bel left his gun and sprinkled dust on the head of Ruha. The gods and rulers rushed down and fell on her face. They fell down, fell on their faces, and went to the great Suf Sea. They wander around Tibble. They seek the mana and do not find it. You go to your father. They look for the man and do not find him. The mana ascended to the house of the great life. When the gods saw him, they fell down and fell on their faces. The mana spoke to life, which is enthroned in its Shkinta. In what have I sinned against you, that I was sent to the abode of sinners? They took me under their vintage, away from the great life in this Shkinta, from the middle of the manas, who come from the treasury of the mighty. When the great one saw the mana, about whom it had issued orders, it took him up with high gloss, and set him up in his Shkinta. It created him three Uthras, who should keep him company. You should keep him company and enlighten his Shkinta. It created him rich light, which should illuminate his figure. It gave him grace, rich and great in the place of light. It created him glowing in brilliance, who are to enlighten the mana and his Shkinta. He bowed and praised the great life in his Shkinta. Manda Dahaya won the victory and helped his friends to victory. 13th piece. In the name of the great life, be glorified by the noble light. Then I was formed and created Tahil. I arose from the source of great splendor. When my father conceived the plan and created me, he created me from the source of splendor. He clothed me with a robe of splendor and covered me with a shell of light. He bestowed on me a great crown, through whose brilliance the worlds shine. He spoke, my son, get up, go to the earth, Tibble, and create a compaction in the black water. Seal the earth, Tibble, and divide the Jordan and channels into it. Create and form the physical atom from which the elect shall arise. From him shall the elect arise and climb up and look at the place of light. Go to the earth Tibble and send out 3 shouts. With the first call the earth becomes denser. With the second call divide into her Jordans and channels. With the third call create the fish in the sea, the feathered birds, in the firmament, and form all the herbs and seeds. Form the herbs and seeds, each of which is different from the other. I break up and succeed to the limits of the earth Tibble. My eyes were full on the black water. Up to my knees I was standing in the water, and the water did not condense. Up to the thighs I stood in the water, and the water did not condense. Until at first my mouth I stood in the water, and the water did not condense. Until the last mouth I stood in the water, and the water did not condense. I spoke the name of life and Manda Dahaya about, and the water did not condense. Of the 7 garments of splendor, light, and glory which my Father bestowed on me, I threw some on the water, and the water did not condense. The rod of speech and hearing I hit the water, and the water did not condense. What should I do with the waters that consume each other, since you do not want to take the name of life? What have I done against my father Abathur, that he guided me here and sent to the depth that is quite smelly, where no one can live, the waters that consume each other, who do not want to take the name of life? I rose from the black water, and he came to me before Abathur. I went before my father Abathur to tell him about the secrets of this world. When Abathur saw me, he asked me out. He spoke, "What kind of things is the world that you created, and how do you have your works in a perfect way dressed up?" Then I answered my father Abathur and spoke to him, "You sent me to the world that is all stink, where there is no light beam, the waters that consume each other, who do not want to take the name of the life. Up to my knees I was standing in the water, and the water did not condense. Up to the thighs I stood in the water, and the water did not condense. Until the first mouth I stood in the water, and the water did not condense. Until the last mouth I stood in the water, and the water did not condense. Of the 7 garments of splendor of light, and of the Lord, I threw some of the water, and the water did not condense. I struck the rod of speech and hearing on the water, and the water did not condense. When I spoke thus to my father Abathur, he was praying and praising. To prayer and praise he stood up. He bowed and praised life to a great extent. He ascended to life to his father to tell him about the works of this world. I cried, Hibble-Ziwa, and it sent him to the station side. From him he took compaction he took from him, and he came, and he gave them to Abathur. Abathur wrapped her in his pure turban, brought them to his son Tahil, and gave them to him. He spoke to him, "Go, compact the earth Tibble, and stretch out the firmament in a perfect way." I rose from my father Abathur, and reached the borders of the earth Tibble. I threw the compaction that my father gave me on the water, and the water condensed. The first compaction measured 12,000 miles, and they made her wing like a cloud. Wings like a cloud you created her, and she flies and circles around the world. It is called Mashune Kushta, in which the men are raised by tried and tested in justice. The men are raised by proven justice in it, and they rise up and look at the place of light. The second compression measured 12,000 miles, which earth is called Tibble, which my first call I sealed the earth and stretched the company in a perfect way. With my second call I divided the Jordan and channels in it. With my third call I created the fish in the sea and the feathered birds of every genus and species. I created the fish in the sea as food for Adam and all his sons. They are also food for souls who live in empty spaces. With my fourth call I created all the herbs and seeds. Each one is different from the other. By my fifth call all evil worms arose. Through my sixth call the whole formation of darkness came into being. Through my seventh call Ruha and her 7 sons came into being. Ruha and her 7 sons were born, and they came and lined up in front of me. When I saw her, my heart fell off the support. I turned to the 7 and spoke to them. Where did you come from, seven, where your name wasn't in my father's house? Where did you come from, seven, where I had no intention of creating you? The seven heard me. They came together and buried themselves in each other. Then Ruha heard it. She came and stood in front of him. She spoke to him. We come to be your servants and to obey you in every way. My sons and my tribes, we stand before you as slaves, set up of your kingdom. We want to stand behind you as your slaves. To this Tahil replied and spoke to them, When you do good deeds, I will count you among my party and take care of you. If you do not do good deeds, you will be included in the place of origin from when you do good deeds. The one you came to will be called my sons in this world and arrange the works which my father used for me. When Tahil said this, the house was taken away from him. The house was taken away from him, and they put him in heavy bonds. He was tied up with gangs until the Tibble passes, for he departed from the speech of his fathers. He did not listen to the words of his fathers. He did what his father did not command him. Therefore he was put in heavy bonds. A curtain fell down between him and his father Abathur. They heard each other's voice, but cannot look at each other's faces. They look at the house from him and put him in heavy bonds. They sent Hibble-Ziwa to prepare this world, preparing the works the Tahil had caused but not carried out, to protect Adam and his wife Hawa, to keep you company, to protect Adam, from which the elect should proceed, from which shall the elect go forth and act with wage donation and alms. And prayer and praise will guard them, to lift up and set up in the house of perfection. Life is held high and is victorious, and victorious is the man who went there. 14th piece. In the name of the great life, be glorified by the noble light. The disciples question the man who came from the great life. The disciples speak to the Uthra whose glory they saw. Tell us, you son of the great life, how you came here from the great one. From the great one you came and went into this world. And the Uthra answered them, whose glory they saw. He spoke, From the great one I came here, from the great one I went here. The great one desired me and sent me out. I have come to instruct his own. I went and taught all the sons of the good, those who had to endure and bear from him. This house was created, and the works prepared in him. Heaven and earth was given strength by him, the sun and the moon who shine through it, the wind, the fire, and the water, the leaders of this world. So the water poured out, and the connection of this world was established. This is how the wind was created, and the planets go their course. I went and taught them, and the disciples were given the truth. He shone in his enlightenment and became powerful over all the worlds. When the worlds saw him, they were terrified, and the deity in it, the world, was frightened. It speaks to him and speaks to him, Namrus, the mother of the world, you fall down. The lords of this world, be our head, and we want to stand behind you. To this he replied and spoke, to Namrus, the mother of the world. When I came here, then he granted the Great One and sent me here. The Great One wished and sent me here, and I came to teach his people. To the elect I came here. Why should I wake the sleeping ones? To the good ones I came here. Why should I wake up the sinners? For brightness I came here. Why should I accept turbidity? To the gentle I came here. I have no desire for the unruly. I came to wake up the vigilant, who are worthy of the light abode. When Nimrus heard it, she raised her voice and cried. I told myself that the Uthra would not come, but then he revealed himself and came, and cast down the lords of this world. He came and instructed his disciples, and set up for them a way to the place of light. The disciples rejoiced and praised the Uthra, whose glory they beheld. He taught the disciples and established with them communion with the place of light. Life is held high and is victorious, and victorious is the man who went here. 15th piece. In the name of the great life, be glorified by the noble light. As the chosen one, pure hinging, life created me out of its mist. From its midst life created me, and from his gentleness it put something in my mind. It clothed me with splendor. It brought a lot of light and covered me with it. It armed me with its coat of arms and spoke, Go, be a force to the second. Teach him so that his heart may shine. Strengthen him so that his mind shines. Enlighten him about the quiet mysteries who were before the recalcitrant mysteries. Teach him about sweetness where there is no bitterness. Teach him about the sons of the tribe of light, who are older than the sons of the void dwelling. Teach him about the great Jordan of life from which he gained glory. Enlighten him about the great crown which is placed on the head of the Uthras. Teach him about the sons of the great tribe of the life, where they stand, bow, and praise. I bow down and go until I reach the house of Yoshamin. When Yoshamin saw me, he jumped up from his throne, and he spoke to me. Hibilziwa, he spoke, you are the Kushta of the great, who went and came into the world. You went there, came into the world, and opened a gate to the world. You opened a gate to the world and set up a path for the believers. You were the master of the Ganzabras, on which your splendor rests. I taught Yoshamin so that his heart would shine. I strengthened him so that his mind shines. I taught him about the quiet mysteries, who were before the recalcitrant mysteries. I taught him about the sweetness where there is no bitterness. I taught him about all the works of life, who are wondrous and strange about everything. I seized Yoshamin by the area of his right and the question of the beings of light. I addressed to him, I spoke to him. I gave you power, power of the high voice of life, from which you received glory. I gave you the power of Pita, Kushta, and Mambuga. You head of the whole tribe, at the first creation, which man arose, which man has arisen, and who was it that was lacking and missing? When Yoshamin heard this, his heart dropped from the stitch. He spoke, at the first creation, nothing defective and faulty has arisen. In the second creation, nothing bad has arisen. The third creation, splendor was increased over all Uthras. The fourth creation, I was born Yoshamin. It was with her that I was born Yoshamin, and there was a lack of me. Then I said to myself, how should I address Yoshamin now that he is not? Say that Hibilziwa is now proud of me taken. So I spoke to him. You, our Father, your splendor is rich and luminous, for all the lights are set up for you. You sit there and enlighten the whole tribe. Good one, come and enlighten us with your rich splendor, and with your endless light that I give you from the house of the great life. I am going and I am going until I reach the house of Abathur. When Abathur saw me, he jumped up from his throne. He jumped up from his throne, and he spoke to me. Hibilziwa, he spoke. Yes, did not come to me. Yes, well, Hibilziwa has come to me. The great life blessed you, and the custodians of Mana strengthened you. That is when I said to myself, I want to address Abathur Uthra, so that he would sit quietly on his throne. Then I spoke to him. Kushta keep you safe, good one, and receive the word in which you have spoken. I am going, and I am going until I reach the house of Tahil. When Tahil saw me, he jumped up from his throne. He jumped up from his throne, and he spoke to me. Hibilziwa, he spoke. O you sprout who grew up in ether, who created you, who commissioned you? To this I replied to him, the great life created me, the great thing has strengthened me here. I also spoke to Tahil Uthra. Why is your power not up in the house of the great life, and does your figure not shine in the place drawn of light? Why hasn't the great life blessed you and gave you the treasure that will not be taken away? To this he replied, why should I step down, bow down, and live the great life when I don't know when I don't have any thanks for it? When Tahil spoke thus, he whined about himself and cried. He whined and cried over himself, sat down and wrote a note to the planets. Tahil gathered the demons, gathered the decrepit army. He gathered the fallen army together, and they are waiting to start a fight. When Hibilziwa saw this, he sat down and wrote a letter to Abathur. Abathur went and went, he and the 400,000 myriad Uthras who are with him. Abathur sat down and wrote a letter to Yoshamin, the king's son. Yoshamin, the king's son, then went by holding the club of living water in his hand. The club he held in his hand was such that the demons see and frighten them. He took the great sword by which the demons are killed. Yoshamin, the king's son, went until he came to Hibilziwa. Let me strike Tahil with the great sword and destroy him and fall him from his throne. I want to hit him with my club and split his head. I want to hit him with my big club and extinguish the blazing fire. Whereupon Hibble spoke to him, Be calm, Yoshamin, you son of the king, for the great life has settled down in goodness. When the first life heard this, I knew it to be a folly of Hibble. Thereupon it wrote a letter from the Kushta and sent him to the decrepit house. Tahil opened it and read it, and saw that the first life had forgiven him. He then yelled at the demons and scattered the decrepit army. He spoke to them, Beware now, Hibble is entirely your folly. Thereupon Hibble and Abathur arose, as well as Yoshamin and all Uthras. They put Tahil in his own shkinta and spoke to him. Pleasant is the fragrance of the manna. How your fragrance is pleasant, dear manna. Pleasant is the splendor of the great life and the illumination of the mighty life. To which Tahil Uthra replied and spoke to her, How has the splendor risen over the courtyards of your face, and how wondrous is your splendor, Uthras, my brothers, miraculous is the place where the great is enthroned. His praise is unlimited, life is held high and is victorious, and victorious is the man who went there. 16th piece. In the name of the great life, be glorified in the noble light. When the chosen one, Rene, went, Life created me from the height. The Uthras sought enlightenment in their sense. They are enlightened by the wisdom of the great life. They sit in their shkintas and guard the shining treasure. They speak, Come on, let's go to Manda Dahaya, and speak to him of the works that are in him in the treasure. We want to enlighten him about the living teaching. And have through which the men of proven justice are enlightened. We want to talk to him about the gentle manas. We want to be from him the baptism of life by which they were newly formed. We want to summon him to the King of Light, whose names the Uthras have not revealed. We want to summon him by the old myrtle, the fragrant plant from which you wind the wreath. We want to talk to him. Let's go to the edge of the house of Yoshamin, and among the works that the deficient created, we want to lighten it over the shimmer which he scatters at the feet of the mighty. When the great ones spoke like this, the call of the house of the mighty life ascended. The Jordan River, 550,000 Uthras went to Manda Dahaya from the white pure earth of ether. 444,000 Uthras went to Manda Dahaya from below the throne of the king of the Uthras. 660,000 Uthras went to Manda Dahaya. They spoke to him, Why did the king of light create you and made him made king in ether? Where do you go to the house of Yoshamin and does not perform his works in a perfect manner? Yoshamin should know that the power of life is greater than its vain power. The Uthras of light are more numerous as the sons of the decrepit fiend. The cooperation of life is greater as the cooperation of the vanishing wicked. Now you have taken the brightness and thrown at the feet of the mighty. You have taken the gentle manas and thrown into the void bodies. Did you take the fragrant flowers and scatter them in heaps over the decrepit house? The myrtle you sent into loads, and he made them weak and weak. You sent the high jasmine, and do all evil to him. You sent Maru Astagran there, and do all evil to him. You sent the narcissus, the myrtle, and the maru, who the narcissus, the myrtle, and the maru, now they practiced wrong things on them. You sent the pure juniper, whose fragrance from beneath the throne of the king of the Uthras. You sent the pure juniper, and they were deficient in him. They despised the fragrant flowers of any kind and genus. They despise the fragrant flowers and do all evil to souls. You took the treasure of life and cast him into the void earth. You took the speech of life and threw them into the talk of transience. You took the pure heart and you gave them to men made of flesh and blood. You were given dominion over the wisdom of the great life, and about the voice that came from above. You have been given dominion over the works of light, and about the speech of the light treasure. And now that you have been given dominion over all works, why is there lacking and lack practiced on them? You took the call of life and cast him into the void. You took the speech of life and threw them into the talk of transience. You sent the prayers and cast them into the void. You took the pure pearl and cast them among the perishable. Now I have taken away the reputation of life, so that the perishable do not receive power from do not receive power over him. Let the perishable have no power over him, and no woman will step on it in menstruation. When Mandadahiah heard this, he jumped up from his throne. He jumped up from his throne and called Hibalziwa. He spoke to him. Jump up from your throne and call Yoshamin. Talk to him. Take the pure heart. Raise them up, and raise them up in their place. Men of proven justice should not know that the power was taken away from the house in this way. You should not receive any power, and the trunk of life should not be cut off from the world. He, Yoshamin, speaks. Why should I have a body without a soul, like a vessel that has no shine? Why should I have flaunting vines where your fragrance is not pleasant? There came a voice from the high king of light and called to Mandadahiah. He spoke to him. Why should Yoshamin know that the call of light was taken away in this way? Why should Hibalziwa know that the treasury of life was hidden in this way? When Mandadahiah heard this, he jumped up from his throne. He jumped up from his throne, and he put on 61 garments of splendor, of light and glory. He sought enlightenment in the wisdom of the great, in the treasury of life. His father bestowed upon him. He sought instruction in the wisdom of the great, and he went and came to Yoshamin. He stood at the edge of the house of Yoshamin and covered gloss over its shimmer. Over his shimmer he covered, and there was a shock in his house. There was a shock in his house, and the planets fell on her face. The earth shrank together, and the firmament rolled like mats. Under the throne of Abathor black water appeared and filled up. When they saw the splendor of Mandadahiah, they fell down and fell on their faces. The planets called with their voice, Tahil and languages. Why should we guard the house? Where is the glimmer taken from us? To this Tahil Uthra replied to the planet, We took the glimmer from you, where I have not seen its splendor. I have not seen his form, the miraculous, alien to the worlds. When Tahil spoke thus, he fell down and fell on his face. He spoke. Since I am sitting in the shackles, they made Yoshamid the keeper of the house. They appointed him over the works, which I lack and mispracticed. Abathur became the daredevil who brings out the bright from the dull. When Tahil spoke thus, Yoshamin rose from his throne. From his throne Yoshamin stood up, and he called forth 61 fetters around Tahil. Tahil was angry in the shackle, and called his father Abathur. He spoke. What did Yoshamin want from me, that he created the shackles around me? Where Mandadahiah let go of fear in this world, what do you want from me, that you have caused me to fall from my throne? You have brought me down from my throne, and my heart fell down from the support. When Tahil spoke thus, his voice went up to the house of the mighty. The great stood up from his throne and spoke to Mandadahiah. Why did you actually go up in your splendor within this world? You let go of fear against the seven, and the war is confusion, and there was confusion among the Uthras. Where you now stand out with your brilliance, Yoshamin put your rights in his rights, and summon him by the wreath of the mighty, summon him by the one great name, where the King of Light has summoned you. By him Hibalziwa swore, and then descended to the place of darkness. He built the works, that is why I sent him into this world. Tell him it should not be that the sun does not know how he wears the glow of splendor. It should not be that the moon knows that I have placed the sign on its brightness. It should not be that Tahil knows how the soul falls into the body, and how the blood speaks in him. It is said, Yoshamin, my son, Tahil, and let him hear and support his heart on his support. Release his shackles, so that there is no lack and error in his sense. When Yoshamin heard this, he bowed down and praised the mighty life. He praised the great life, and went and untied the fetter of Tahil. He loosened the fetter of Tahil and spoke to Tahil. He spoke to him, We believed in you. Good, we watched you shine and will not forget you. Every day, and even just an hour, we will not let you out of our heart. For our heart shall not go blind, and our soul will not be included in this world. When Tahil heard this, his heart was supported on his support. He replied in a clear voice and spoke to Yoshamin. Where Mandadahiah let go of fear in this world, what did you want from me, that you left the shackles around me? When Tahil spoke spoke thus did Mandadahaya know that there are shortcomings between Tahil and Yoshamin. He called Hibilziwa, armed him, and sent him out into the ages. He spoke to him, Go, preach to Yoshamin, and let him hear, and support the heart of Tahil on his support. I'm going, and I'm going until I get to the house of Yoshamin. When I arrived at the house of Yoshamin, I spoke to Yoshamin. Why have you not been guided by the wisdom of the great life? Why did you leave the shackle around Tahil and let them teach? When Yoshamin heard this, he realized that I had uncovered his secret that he had hidden in himself. I am going, and I am going until I get to the house of Tahil. When Tahil saw me, he jumped up from his throne. He jumped up from his throne, and Hibilziwa addressed me. He spoke. Come, come, the shine, and went up in the house. In the house he went up, and the whole house was illuminated. The house lit up. It lit up in its corners. The Nazorian people who heard the voice of life rejoiced and talked. How sweet is the voice of life, who came here by calling us from the place of light. When I heard this from him, I blessed him with the great blessing, with which the dear man is blessed. I spoke to him, Behave calmly and quietly, Tahil, with your mystery within this world. Now keep your name in your shkinta, and call him out loud only to the shining treasures. I want to teach them about everything. I want to teach the men of proven justice, the men who are made of flesh and blood. I want to teach you about everything. I want to teach the disciples who commemorate the speech of life. When wickedness oppresses you and anger is against you, to be released, so beware of swearing and falling, and to overthrow the mana from his throne. Beware of cursing, Tahil Uthra. Beware when he asked for a share of life. He did not grant him a share in the house. Hereby granted, he did not grant him dominion over anything. About anyone who escapes Tahil Uthra, there will be great anger. About anyone who brings him down from his throne, the verdict will be made. I bound and guarded his works, and neither lacked nor failed in them. I put the heart of Tahil Uthra on his support, so that his sense is neither lacking nor lacking. I am going, and I am going, until I come to the house of Abathur. When Abathur saw my glory, he jumped up from his throne. He jumped up from his throne, and Hibilziwa addressed me. He spoke. Where did life get this voice, the one that's so sweet, the one that's so lovely? The Uthras of light speak to her. I'm going, and I am going, until I get to the house of Yoshamin. When Yoshamin saw my brilliance, he jumped up from his throne. He jumped up from his throne and sought instruction in the wisdom of the great life, and in the enlightenment that the life gave him. He took fragrant flowers and dipped them in water from the Jordan, and went to meet me. He took the fragrant flowers and put a wreath of the most perfect kind on me, and he spoke to me. Hibilziwa, he spoke. O ye sprout who have sprouted up in the ether, who created you, who strengthened you. So I speak to him. The great life created me. The chosen one strengthened me here. To the right, Mandadahaya did establish a throne for Yoshamin at the mouth of the Frasiwa. Mandadahaya was set up in this world. He raised up living water in her, which is extended and unlimited. It is not deficient nor faulty. In him there is neither lack nor lacking. I desired a speech in a perfect manner and spoke. I made a request to the great life. I beg you, mighty life, I make a request to the great life. Direct your praise to me. Teach me about the great, so that I may support the heart of Yoshamin on his support. Yoshamin, do not say Hibilziwa has risen above me. When the great life heard this, it sent me strength in abundance. It spoke, Go, preach to Yoshamin, and let him hear, and support his heart on his support. Yoshamin, do not say, Hibilziwa has risen above me. When I heard this from life, my father, I got the authority to say how it was. I spoke with my pure voice. I addressed Yoshamin. I spoke to him. The mountains of glory blessed you, and the heights of light strengthened you. The earth of light blessed you. The light abode strengthened you. The most skillful among the Uthras, his brother, the folder of all light worlds. This is how I addressed Yoshamin. Then I left and went to my father. When Mandadahaya saw my brilliance, he called to the Uthras. He spoke to me in an excellent way and spoke. The coming of Hibil Uthra is like the Sitil who goes to the house of his friends. Then the disciples heard the voice, the Anush, the great Uthra. Did they bow down to the mighty life? and glorified the great life beyond measure. The Uthras rose from their throne, baptized me with their baptism, and strengthened me with their miracles. Sitil Uthra approached, and he spoke to me. Hibil he spoke, let your robe shine, and let your form be highly honored by your father, the Lord of greatness. He made me a pure wreath. He keeps me from everything ugly. Life made me like a seat in his shkinta, where it had been itself before. He, Sitil, enlightened me through the voice of life, and pronounced my name at the place of light. Life is held high and is victorious, and victorious is the man who went there. 17th piece. In the name of the great life, be glorified by the noble light. I was planted and came in this world. Life desired me and planted me to go to this world. It spoke, on, good one, descend to the present generation. Go to your brothers, the sons of salvation, those who are deficient. There was a shortage of them. There was a lack and a failure attached to them. Lack and failure clung to her, and the shock arose in the world. Manda Dahaya then speaks to him. The chosen one, life, who has chosen himself, give me a club of shining so that I destroy the house and its builders, that I put down the lacking and lead him up to the place of light victoriously. When Manda Dahaya spoke like this, his voice descended to all worlds. The angels who built the house weep, and the inhabitants who are in it are frightened. The residents beat themselves and howl and weep like women. Ruha Kadusha stands up. She leaves and goes there like a parturient. The sons of angels strike in the hand, and they are complaining about their father. They cry for the head of the ages, who resembles them. The sons speak to evil, to the corrupter who did not look at life. Woe, you are afraid, and afraid of him, the one you sent here. How do you want us, who created us? Protect him. They also spoke, the stranger whom life has sent in its wrath. Now the house is destroyed, and his sons are dissolved and fallen down. The treasure house is distributed, and you condemn us to stay in this world. When the evil one spoke to his sons, the treasurers of the worthless house, go away and disappear from me, you dead who did not watch your life. When you are demons, you live in the wastelands. You are devas, hide yourselves and do not let yourselves be seen. When you are angels of wonderful powers, take the gun and go to meet him. Don't let the stranger go into this world. The sons responded to the evil, the destroyer who did not see life. You whom they have clothed with their splendor, are you not up to the power of the strange man? Who shall we who possess no strength start a fight with him? How the bad ones sit there and think. He heard the voice of the eaters of splendor. He banged against her firmament and split a gap in it. He split a gap and pushed a gap into their firmament. The cisterns of the firmament melted and fell down from the firmament as rain. Ruha took her sons in her bosom and walks around from one place to another. I want to hide you here and let the killers escape. In the earth I want to hide you, but the splendor of Manda Dahaya rests there. He struck a cleft in the earth of the wicked there, and she drove out everything that was inside her. Ruha took her sons in her bosom and walks around from one place to another. My sons, I want to hide you here and there. Let the killers escape. In the sea I want to hide you, but the light of Manda Dahaya rests there. That's where Manda Dahaya will kill you and sink in the great sea. Ruha took her in her bosom, her sons to her bosom, and walks around from one place to another. My sons, I want to hide you here, and let the killers escape. I will hide you in the mountains, but the power of Manda Dahaya rests there. Then Ruha took her sons to her bosom and hid them in the cisterns of the firmament. How the evil ones sit there and think, the strange man came flying up. The strange man came flying up, the messenger whom life sent. He struck a crack in the earth of the wicked, and everything that was inside her drove and through her. The cisterns of the firmament turned, and the sons of Ruha fell down like a thunderbolt, like a flash. The sons of Ruha fell down and fell into the hands of her murderer. Ruha swears and lies that they will not turn his sons of the sons of Mandadahaya into slaves. Mandadahaya knew that Ruha swore and lied. Mandadahaya spoke to the wicked and liars who dwell in the world. Where did you come from that you live in this world? By whose authority were you created? Who are you turning generations and worlds away? To which evil Mandadahaya replied, the messenger of all lights, living Mandadahaya, we do not know where we are from. Our place is the place of darkness, where there is no light. Our place is of turmoil, where there is no rest. Our place is the place of confusion, where there is no order. Our place is the place of evil, where there is no good ones. Then Mandadahaya spoke to the wicked and liars who dwell in the world. You evil ones and liars, all things I want to let go, only I will not let go of my robe. I will not let go of my robe which was brought and thrown among you. So they took off their clothes and let it go, and rushed down and fell on their faces. Now they are the same who do not come out of darkness to the light. They are like the monks, whose hair falls down to their knees. Your hair falls down to your knees, and they do not come up from the field to the city. They are like the heretics of deception who sit on pillars of the support. They sit on pillars of the support and cut off their seed from the world. They are like the fasters whose mouth is imposed fasting. Mandadahaya spoke to the wicked and liars who live in the world. Go, be like your forefather. He is killed in the darkness. Killed, he lies there in darkness. Go, be like the king of darkness, who raised the gun against Mandadahaya. He raised the gun against Mandadahaya, but Mandadahaya overcame him and threw him into the darkness. Go, be like the head of the ages, on which the head rested, and the anvil of the earth immediately pressed on his side. Go, be like the Lord, the giant which reaches from the earth to the sky. The sons of salvation stood up against him in rank and file. The angels who don't take bribes, they killed him with sword and iron, because he caused all his admirers to apostatize. All his admirers he brought to waste, and he imposed fasting on her mouth. He imposed fasting on her mouth so that his name does not disappear from among them. He imposed on them the fasting of the 7th in the month. Then he was killed at the beginning of the fighting. He imposed on them the fast of the 14th. When Mandadahaya consulted and came against him, he imposed on them the fast of the 28th. When her hero fell down and was killed, he imposed on them the fast of silence. When his spirit left his body, he imposed on them the fast of the 15th. When they eat the bread of shame, Mandadahaya calls with a noble voice, and let his wondrous call be heard. Some heard and became believers and held fast to the treasure, and to the speech. He held on to the treasure and to the speech. So he climbed up and looked at the place of light. The wicked who wrap themselves up and lay down, still sitting there fasting, and do not look at the place of light. The fasters and the fasteners and the fastening, they will fall into the fires of fire, and life is victorious. In the name of the great life, he be glorified by the noble light. A noble voice of life calls, a noble voice of mighty life. A noble voice of life calls, let everyone take care of themselves. Hail to the one who takes care of himself, and his heart is a builder to him. Save the truthful, they climb up and look at the place of light. Woe to the counselor who has not given himself any advice. Woe to the road builder who has not paved the way for himself. He has not paved the way for himself. If he walks on it, he shall not slip. Woe to the builder who has not built a building in front of him. Woe to you, displeasure, that the wicked will not be satisfied with this world. Woe to the wide belly, no matter how much he eats, he doesn't get full. Woe to the double tongue, which makes two different judgments on the same case. Woe to the learners, they are taught without wanting to learn. Woe to the simple-minded fools who are stuck in their foolishness. Woe to the wise who has taught his wisdom. Woe to the rulers who rule over the abandoned and do not do beautiful works. They fall into the blazing fire. They stoke the coals with their hands. With your lips you are fanning the fire. Woe to the evil heart, the evil dominates. Wickedness dominates it. Therefore it will end with the end of the world. It will end with the end of the world, and do not look at the place of light. Hail to the one who has done good. Woe to him who has done evil. Hail to the one who does good. Woe, woe calls the one who does evil. Woe to him who had, and he did not do any good from his goodness. He committed sins for himself and heaped insults in front of him. Hail to the man who had and has done good by his good. He has prepared a reward for himself. His works go before him. His works go before him and form a support before him on the way. May your hands practice righteousness and keep your heart firm in faith. Let this be your food. Be the breadwinner on your way. Let this be your food and climb up. Look at the place of light. Life is victorious, and victorious is Manda Dahaya and his 25 names. 19th piece. In the name of the great life, be glorified by the noble light. From the place of light I emerged out of you, lights of residence. From the place of light I emerged, and an Uthra from the house of life gave me guidance. The Uthra who led me out of the house of the great life held a stick of living water in his hand. The staff he held in his hand, and he was full of leaves of an exquisite kind. He handed me his foliage. Of these, prayer, orders, and prayers became full. Again he handed it to me. That's when my sick heart found recovery. Recovery found my sick heart, and my world strange soul found relief. For the third time he handed it to me. Then he raised his eyes in my head. He raised his eyes in my head. Then I saw my father and recognized him. I saw my father and recognized him and made 3 requests to him. I asked him for gentleness, where there is no rebellion. I asked him for a strong heart, with which large and small can be carried. I asked him to pave the way, to climb up and look at the place of light. Life is held high and is victorious, and victorious is the man who went there. 20th piece. In the name of the great life, be glorified by the noble light. Who wants to come? Who will tell me? Who wants to tell me? Who will tell me? Who wants to come? Who will tell me? Who was on the light earth? Who was on the light earth? Who is older than who? And who was in front of whom? Life knows it well. Life knows it and needs not to ask. Life probably knows that life was on the light earth. On the light earth was life, and from life and water arose. Water arose from life, and from the water the shine arose. From the splendor the light arose, and from the light the Uthras arose. From the light arose the Uthras who stand there and praised life. The good in his rich power, in the splendor that life bestowed on him, teach and teach the perfect within this world. He speaks. The man who brought me here will tell me what he brought me here for. The house I live in will tell me who built it. The 7 who dwell in it, they'll tell me where they came from. I tell you and I explain. For anyone who is truthful and believing within himself, you weren't from here, and your root was not of the world. The house where you live, this house did not build life. The 7 who dwell in it do not ascend to the earth of light. You, adoring and prizes the place you came from, praise the man of proven justice who has raised up the speech in your mouth. You kick low and overturn the 7 and throw shame on the world. Life is held high and is victorious, and victorious is the man who went here. 16th book. First piece. I am the guardian of the pure Tarwan, the son of the great Nabat. I am the son of the great Nabat. I came from the 2 pure mountains. They clothed me with pure garments, which were created from the 360 upper Jordans of the upper Jordans. My form is the form of Yawarziwa, which was created from the hidden places. The cloud they created for me, and it did not come out of the darkness. She did not come out of the darkness. There was no lack or lack of it. There was no lack of it who came from the house of the second. They created me, strengthened me, and armed me. They gave me instructions and created helpers for me. They created messengers for me, Uthras who are full of light. They gave me dominion over the pure Tarwan and all the secret speech that is in it. They spoke to me and taught me about the pure Tarwan, which originated from the earth of Yoshamin. They taught me about the earth of the ether and about the expensive king of ether, who was created out of him. They taught me about the ether's earth, which existed before the earth of pure Tarwan. They taught me about the earth of the great Nisab, and over the pure place of glorious splendor, which came out of the Jordan River, about the Shkintas in which the Nisab Sab settled, was created, and about the Uthras who are sitting there in a light robe. They taught me about the mighty mysteries of light, which rest beneath the throne of the king of the earth of ether. They armed me with a coat of arms, so that the rebels do not sin against me. I came to the world that created the second. It is based on the lack and the error. I sent out the call of life and planted the planting of the great life. The planting of the great I planted, and chose the chosen ones. I chose every single one of them, brightened them up, and enlightened them about the good. I made her eyes light about the place where the great enthroned. I taught them through hidden hymns and prayer orders about prayer and praise that have come to us. I built them into the construction of life and brought them into the community of life. I enlightened her with an enlightenment wondrous and endless. I enlightened her with an enlightenment and showed them an image that came from the hidden place. When the elect saw it, he healed her sick heart. I called with a noble voice and made the worthless fiends get up. I called with a noble voice and won me an appendix of the first excellent kind. I called with a noble voice which roused the sleeping ones and made them get up. The truth of the faith was revealed to them. She set up in the house, and they beat each other with their sides against each other they beat, and armed themselves, and stood up in the world. With their sides they beat each other, and did nothing of the works of the seven. Of the works of the seven they did nothing, and their figure was not degraded. Then when Ruha saw her, she hit her head with her hands. She hits her head with her hands, and the curls on the head are being pulled out. She rests in malice and calls on her firstborn sons. Come, come, my firstborn sons, listen to what I tell you. Some of you are supposed to put slings, some of you knit. We want to let go of lust and fire in this world. We want to stir up wickedness among them, and fire and let it go. We want to create weapons, and Mashiach is to make the whole world stumble. We want to grab the tribe of souls and split it into separate parts. We want to call the disciples with a noble voice and grant them of our teaching. From our teaching we want to grant you and spread our works over them. We want to throw lust and chains into the world, inhibiting the call of life, and to disappear from the world. We want to eradicate the sign of life and the baptism with which they were baptized in the Jordan. We want to raise up baptism of shame and that of the vain Mashiach. We want to eliminate Pita, Kushta, and Mambuha, and establish the sacrament of the world. We want to pack the whole Tibble and plunge it into the blazing fire. We want to pursue the sons of the great tribe of life who rise above us. All Nazorians should be made our adherents. We want to give you the kana of almsgiving in an excellent way. Those who blame us, we will bring persecution to the world. How the seven stand and make plans. Nebat, son of Johanna, left his body. The chosen one left his body and strode hurriedly through the ether. The Uthra strode hastily thither until he came to the guardhouse of the Ruha. When Ruha saw him, the throne bowed down under her. When the guards saw him, the scourge fell out of their hands. The scourge fell out of the hands of the watchmen, the bell ringers. The bell fell down. The sorceries of the Ruha were bound, and their works dispersed into different parts. Ruha Kadusha spoke and turned to the man of proven justice. How did you get here from the Tibble, and where is your gate directed? Who was a guardian to you? Who took you out of the world? Who do you trust, and who was a savior to you? Where did you live in the house, and where was your king founded in the world, that you have not practiced any of our works, and you didn't submit to us? How did you escape our snares? How did our fornication not arise in you? How did you spring from our greed and ardor? How did our blazing fire not originate in you? How are you freed from the darkness and brought you out from the ones who are let into the world? Who was a Lord to you? Who will help you? Where is your pure helper, the man who was a nurse to you? How Ruha stands there and speaks like this. The helper came flying up, the pure helper came, who shouted in a loud voice and made me hear. He screams in a loud voice and let me hear, and let my heart rest on his support. It turned to him and spoke. Namrus, the mother of the world, who was your creator now, and how will you ascend to the light? I replied to her, I was created from the light, and after the worlds of light my course is directed. Then she screamed in a loud voice and shrieked, and the scourge fell out of her hand. She called, Except you, Uthra, let no one ascend to the light. Let no one rise from this world to the light. Do not let them climb up and look at the place of light. Do not let the Nazorians ascend, who wear an inverted robe. Do not let the Nazorians ascend, who give a testimony for money and good. To get money and good they give a testimony, and do not remember the name of Yawar. Do not remember the name Yawar, and give neither reward nor alms. They do not give any reward or alms, and do not heal their suffering blows. Don't cure your strokes, but give up their possessions for fornication, adultery, and corruption. They give them up for corruption and fornication, so they will be beaten with 7 blows. With 7 strokes you will be beaten, and fall into the guardhouses of the 7 stars. All souls who do evil will become thin like a hair on the head. Who denies the name of life will die a second death. He will die a second death, and his form will become dark and not light up. When Ruha spoke thus, the glory of the pure helper went up. The pure helper's shine went on, and Ruha fell down from her throne. From her throne Ruha fell down, and he threw her down, struck her with the club of splendor. He threw her down, beat her with the club of splendor. He threw Ruha into her own snares. Ruha he threw into her own snares, and she turned her face to the great Suf sea. After the great Suf sea she set her face, and the speech was not powerful. He seized me with 7 secret words. He lifted me up and set me up in front of my father. He baptized me with his baptism and strengthened me by his word. By his word he strengthened me and drew me with the pure sign. He clothed me with a robe of splendor, wondrous and endless. He put a pure wreath on me, whose leaves shine. He covered me with a turban which was created from the earth of ether. From the earth of ether he was created, and shines to a great extent, more than the shine of the sun. They let me take a seat in their secret shkintas, which were founded by my father Johanna. When he left the world, I saw the figure of the great life, which is miraculous and outstanding in ether. I looked at the great light, looked at the expansive lamp. I watched Hibble-Ziwa, the man who saved me from the world. He was saved from the ugly. He redeemed me from the guardhouses, who created the 7 in this world. He showed me the figure of the great life, and taught me about the miraculous vine. He taught me about Sar, the great vine, the life in the Shkinta of the great Yura, the treasurer. He created a world of light for, and founded a Shkinta like his for me. He spoke, all the souls that depart from here and are worthy of the place of light, all the souls that depart should find a place in your Shkinta, and life is victorious. Second piece. In the name of the great life, be glorified by the noble light. And Uthra calls from outside, and teaches Adam the man. Eve speaks to Adam, do not slumber and do not sleep, and do not forget that your Lord has commanded you. Do not be a son of the earthly house, and do not be called a transgressor in the Tibble. Love non-fragrant wreaths, and do not take a liking to a lovely woman. Love does not smell good, and do not neglect the prayer of the night. Love is not a deceptive shadow, not having intercourse with lovely women. Don't love the lust, still lying in shadows. Do not drink, and do not be inordinate, and do not forget your Lord from the mind. Upon your entry and your exit, see that you do not forget your Lord. When you go and when you come, see that you do not forget your Lord. In your sitting and your standing, see that you do not forget your Lord. When you rest and when you lie down, see that you do not forget your Lord. Don't say, I am a firstborn son, that I, whatever I may do, remain without folly. Adam, look at the world, which is quite a thing without being there. A thing without a being she is, in which you must not have confidence. The carriage is sitting upright, and out of 1,000 she chooses 1. She chooses 1 out of 1,000, and she chooses 2 out of 10,000. The fragrant wreaths press, and women's beauty becomes as if she had never been there. The smells are passing away, and the lust of the night stops. All works pass away and take an end, and become as if you have never been there. When Adam heard this, he cried and cried about himself. He spoke to the Uthra of life and steps, if you know that this is so, why did you take me away from my place to captivity and throw me into this smelly body and bring me into the stinking body where you threw me? I was thrown into the consuming fire. You threw me into the consuming fire that the stench rises every day. To this he replied to him, shut up, Adam. You head of the whole species. The world that should be we cannot suppress. Up, worship the great and submit so that life may become your savior. Let life be a savior to you, and you climb up and look at the place of light, and life is victorious. Third piece. The voice of Manda Dahaya is, he calls and teaches all of his friends. He speaks to you, my chosen ones. Make your hearts submissive, facilitate and clean and wash. Calm your mind with kushta. Don't love money and the worlds that you have seen and loved. The world saw it and loved it. Then they went and ran in the drought. My chosen ones, kushta, and alms donation, so that a passage may be laid for you over the sea. There is a passage for you over the sea, on the shore of which stand 1,000 times 1,000, on the shore of which there are 1,000 times 1,000 out of 100 he counts, one and leads him over, who is humble of heart, truly and faithfully. Woe to the wicked and liars who forgot the alms and did not give it. Have you forgotten the alms and not given it? Now stay the night and at the crossing. You will spend the night at the crossing, and the wicked do not ascend to the place of light. Life is held high and is victorious, and victorious is the man who went there. Fourth piece. From the place of light I emerged, out of you, lights of residence. I come to feel the hearts, to measure and test all the senses, to see in whose heart I dwell, in whose mind I rest. Whoever thinks of me, I think of him. Whoever calls my name, I call his name. Who prays my prayer from the Tibble, I pray his prayer from the place of light. Who prays my prayer and my praise, for him I pray a prayer rich and great. I came and found the true and believing hearts when I was not among them. My name was on her mouth. I took her and led her up to the Uthras. The Yokabar was created. I spoke to you, perfect. Your scent is pleasant, and shine rests among you. Blessed be you, my Lord, who do not condemn the perfect, and life is victorious. Fifth piece. From the day I loved life, from the day when my heart loved the kushta, from the day I loved life, I don't have any more confidence in the world. Father and mother, I have no confidence in the world. About brothers and sisters, I have no confidence in the world. Wife and child, I have no confidence in the world. Scourge and ruling power, I have no confidence in the world. Castles and buildings, I have no confidence in the world. To magnificent vestments and beautiful covers, I have no confidence in the world. What is made and created, I have no confidence in the world. The whole world and its works, I have no confidence in the world. Only for my soul I go searching around, which is worth generations and worlds to me. I went there and found my soul. Why should all the worlds be mine? I climbed up to the high mountains and descended to the deep valleys. I went there and found Kushta and was happy in my heart, and I went and found her. As it stands on the outer edge of the world, she is standing there, and holding it in her hand. One thing I took from her, then my eyes became full of light. I took the second, that's when I made my soul bright and clear. I took the third, then I climbed up and looked at the place of light. Blessed be you, King of Light, who have been full of compassion for us, and blessed be life. Sixth piece. The Chosen One preaches from beyond and enlightens the sons of Adam. He enlightens the sons of Adam, those simple-minded people who did not recognize anything. He speaks to you, O you simple-minded people. What are you building your trust on? When you arrive at the Suf Sea, with what do you want to cross the Suf Sea? When you arrive at the dark mountains, with what do you want to cross the dark mountain? When the time of your departure is here and the parting of the body comes, what will be your food? What will be your food? To this they reply to him, well, our gold and our silver is our way of eating. Well, our estate and our money is a salvation for us. Well, our scourge and our ruling power, he is our helper. He that made and created is the support for us on our way. The chosen one preaches from beyond and enlightens the sons of Adam. He enlightens the sons of Adam, those simple-minded people who did not recognize anything. He speaks to you. Not your gold, not your silver is a way of life for you. Not your goods, not your money is a salvation for you. Not your scourge, not your ruling power is your helper. Not what has been made or created is a support for you. The worlds and generations gathered then, and they went before the messengers of life. You speak to him. By your life, messenger of life, reveal to us the secrets of the way. Then he speaks to them. Let your hands give alms, and let your heart be in true faith. Submit and worship the King of Light, so that he may have mercy upon you. Let this be your food, let this be your path, and blessed be life.